Hi, I'm Sam Brom, and this is my math project. What I'm going to be going through today is angles, types of lines, classifying polygons, reasoning, and graphing lines. First of all, let's go through angles. There are three types of angles. The first type is acute. An acute angle has a measure that is less than 90 degrees, no more, and it cannot be 90 degrees. These are all examples of acute angles. If you didn't notice, all of their measures were below 90 degrees. None were at 90 or above it. Next is right angles. A right angle is an angle with a measure that is exactly 90 degrees, no more, no less. This would be an example of a right angle. The little box in the angle symbolizes that the angle is right. Let's take another look. And there you can see the little box in the corner of the picture. Next, and finally, would be obtuse angles. An obtuse angle is an angle with a measure of above 90 degrees. It cannot be 90 degrees or below. These are all examples of an obtuse angle. Each angle has a measure of greater than 90 degrees. Next is type of lines. The first type is parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that are in the same plane, but they never intersect. In this picture, line 1 and line 2 are parallel to each other. If you extend them on forever, they will never touch. This is how you construct a parallel line. And there you go. Those lines are nice and parallel. Next is perpendicular lines. These lines are lines that intersect and create right angles. Line L and line M are both perpendicular to each other. Lines P and Q are also perpendicular, but only to each other. You can show that lines are perpendicular by using this symbol. This is how you construct perpendicular lines. First of all, you have to choose a point in about the middle, and you have to draw an arc that goes through the line in two different places. Next, you open up your compass a bit more, and then you draw two arcs that cross each other above the line. Finally, you draw a line through the point you just made with the two arcs, and then the first point where you put down your compass, and that's how you make a perpendicular line. The final type of line is a skew line. Skew lines never touch because they are on different planes. In this picture, line M is skew to line L. Next, let's go over classifying polygons. A polygon is a closed figure closed by three or more segments called sides. These sides cannot intersect or even curve. There are two types of polygons, concave and convex. A concave polygon is when one or more of the sides is greater than 180 degrees. These are all examples of concave polygons. A convex polygon, on the other hand, is when all the angles measured are less than 180 degrees. There are still other ways to classify polygons. You can classify them by if they are equilateral, which means all sides are congruent. The next type is equiangular, by which all angles are congruent. Finally, is a regular polygon. A regular polygon is a convex polygon that is both equilateral and equiangular. Next, we are going to go over reasoning. There are two types of reasoning. The first type of reasoning is deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is using facts, definitions, accepted properties, the laws of logic, to form a logical argument. There are two types of laws of logic. First is the law of detachment, and the second is the law of syllogism. Syllogism would be, if A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. The law of detachment is if a hypothesis of a statement is true, then the conclusion is also true. An example would be if angles C and D are right angles, they are also congruent. The second type is inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is using observed data to come up with a conclusion. An example would be if you see a bunch of people walking dogs, and the elderly are the only ones walking poodles, you would come up with the conclusions that poodles are only owned exclusively by the elderly and no one else. Finally, we're going to go over graphing equations. There are three types of equations of lines. First is slope-intercept form. Second would be point-slope form. The third type would be standard form. Slope-intercept form, the m would be the slope, and the b would be the y-intercept. All answers have to be in this form. Next is point-slope form. y1 would be the known y-intercept, m would be the slope, and x1 would be the known y-coordinate, the known x-coordinate. You use this form when you don't know the y-intercept. Finally is standard form. The x is the known x-coordinate, and the y is the known y-coordinate. You get the slope by m equals negative a over b. If you get y equals a number, then it is a constant horizontal, which means it has no slope. It doesn't go up and down. It just goes from side to side. If you get x equals a number, it is a constant vertical. That means that it just goes up and down. It doesn't go side to side at all. This year in math I have found easier for me than other years. I found geometry easier to understand than algebra or any other of the maths. I think this because in algebra we used a lot more steps, and that's always where I messed up. I usually messed up with just missing a little negative sign or a number. This year I've done fairly well with the exception of getting work in on time. Sometimes I just forget about it, and other times I admit I just don't want to do it. I really think that I can improve on my assignment getting my assignments done by writing them in my agenda, and also having the motivation to get all my homework done and on time. This could easily lead to success next year in geometry class. Thank you, and have a nice day.